Nietzsche's philosophy is quite interesting, and there is so much to analyze in his works. His concept of the Overman has many dimensions to it, and that is what we will cover in this video. The term Overman comes from the German word Übermensch. Another translation of Übermensch is Superman. To avoid confusion, the words Overman and Übermensch will both be used in this video, and have the same meaning. Nietzsche created the Overman as a goal for humanity to set for itself, and is the next step in progression for humanity. Many have misinterpreted Nietzsche's predictions and desires for what the future human is. Most notably, the Nazis misinterpreted what it was. They more so saw it as a physical change in humanity, rather than mental. And they used Übermensch to validate Hitler's view of the master race. Nietzsche's very anti-Semitic sister Elizabeth invited Hitler to her brother's grave in Weimar in 1934 and made an offer of Nietzsche's philosophy to Hitler. Hitler, who never read the philosopher's works, took to the selected snippets that Elizabeth gave him and adopted the Übermensch as a symbol of the master race. Little did Hitler know that Nietzsche had written that he would have had all anti-Semites shot, not to mention Nietzsche's strong anti-nationalistic and pan-European tendencies. Provocatively, Nietzsche also talked of himself as the last anti-political German. Nietzsche is very easy to misinterpret. In fact, most of his works, people would argue, are made to be interpreted in various ways. However, the Übermensch is simply not a physical change. It's a psychological shift in the individual. And yes, the human race can earn that psychological shift, but the process is with the individual themselves. And society can help promote that growth, but it's nothing genetic, it's nothing physical, it's just about mentality. A very important quote in Thus Spoke Zarathustra goes as follows: "Behold, I teach you the Overman. The Overman is the meaning of the earth. Let your will say, the Overman shall be the meaning of the earth. I beseech you, my brothers, remain faithful to the earth, and do not believe those who speak to you of otherworldly hopes. Poison mixers are they, whether they know it or not. Despisers of life are they, decaying and poison themselves, of whom the earth is weary, so let them go." In this passage, Nietzsche references otherworldly hopes, which means anything that provides an individual false promise of happiness in a made-up reality. A great example of this is Christianity. The promise to abide by Christian law with no question, in the pursuit of heaven, is an otherworldly hope that is life-denying. Nietzsche says individuals should instead find meaning in our own world, Earth. Nietzsche is quite famous for his proclamation that God is dead, and it is a fundamental idea for becoming the Overman. The meaning of the phrase is often misunderstood. Many have interpreted that Nietzsche believed in literal death or end of God. Instead, the line points to the Western world's reliance on religion as a moral compass and source of meaning. He explains in The Gay Science, section 125, The Madman, "God is dead. God remains dead, and we have killed him. How shall we comfort ourselves, the murderers of all murderers? What was the holiest and mightiest of all the world has yet owned has bled to death under our knives. Who will wipe this blood off us? What water is there for us to clean ourselves? What festivals of atonement? What sacred games shall we have to invent? Is it not the greatness of this deed too great for us? Must we ourselves not become gods simply to appear worthy of it?" The death of God is long overdue, yet it also is an enormous problem in Nietzsche's view. God represents a meaning of life, and without it, many would experience emptiness. The view that everything is meaningless is not the solution Nietzsche would offer. Instead, Nietzsche would encourage the individual to form their own values and meaning, and ultimately create themselves instead of letting religion define their outlook of life. Christianity also offered a sense of community and a platform to seek knowledge. And Nietzsche would argue that culture and art and literature can replace these valuable societal constructs. One example from where Nietzsche diverges from Christian ideals is the concept of envy. Christianity rebukes envy. However, Nietzsche has a different perspective. He thinks that when the individual experiences envy, they should acknowledge the quality that they're envious of and seek to attain it themselves. For example, envy towards a wealthy man could drive the individual to earn more wealth themselves. And even if the individual fails in their goals that envy drove them to pursue, there's still much value in knowing that you made the effort and pursued it. Attempting and failing is far more valuable than taking no action and wistfully fantasizing worlds where you had these qualities. One of Nietzsche's most famous quotes is, "In the entire New Testament, there's only one person worth respecting: Pilate, the Roman governor." Nietzsche heavily respected the ancient Romans and Greeks for their spontaneous and life-affirming behavior, where they always sought to experience all the stuff that affirmed their life and made them experience all the feelings that they wanted. And Christianity was very different in this regard for Nietzsche. Christianity had, in Nietzsche's account, emerged in the late Roman Empire in the minds of timid slaves who lacked the strength to get a hold of what they really wanted, and so had to clung to a philosophy that made virtue of their cowardice. He called this Sklavenmoral. This slave morality that Christians believed in completely denounced the things and desires that they always wanted, but were too weak to attain themselves, and then praised all of the things that they happened to already have, yet provided little to no benefit for the individual, and likely even prevented the individual from pursuing the qualities and traits that would have changed their lives for the better. Nietzsche hated all things that were life-denying, and even alcohol was life-denying in Nietzsche's view. Nietzsche was quoted to have said, "There have been two great narcotics in European civilization: alcohol and Christianity." Nietzsche hated alcohol for the same reason that he hated Christianity. It numbs pain, and both reassure the individual that they are just fine as they are, and that they don't need to take action for things that might make them a better person or make their lives more enjoyable. They encourage the individual to partake in nihilistic tendencies that just assure them everything is okay and that they don't need to pursue change. Nietzsche's philosophy about alcohol relates to drugs as well. They both just heal the pain of the struggles of life. And Nietzsche thought that this was a big problem. All of the systems that help people cope with the problems of life, including Christianity, alcohol, are very important for humanity. And Nietzsche argued that there must be something to fix it, must be something to replace it. And Nietzsche's solution was to replace scripture from the Bible with art, literature, and music. And literature and the focus of education, in Nietzsche's view, should be to help guide people through life. Nietzsche feared that a post-Christian, atheistic world would turn envy into resentment, which would fuel another shift in morality. This new morality would be a form of egalitarianism, which Nietzsche disliked heavily. Nietzsche doesn't like egalitarianism because he doesn't want people to be mediocre. He wants people to be able to drive to the edge of what's possible for humanity. And in the genealogy of morals, he says, Our greatest peril lurks in the European drift towards egalitarianism, for it is this prospect which wearies us. We see today nothing which wishes to be greater. We surmise that everything is still retreating, going backwards, regressing towards something more reserved, more inoffensive, more cunning, more comfortable, more mediocre, more indifferent. Man, there is no doubt about it, grows always better. The destiny of Europe lies precisely in this, that in losing our fear of man, we have also lost the hope in man, respect for man, the will to be man. So Nietzsche accepts that humanity may need to cause fear and hurt people in the name of attaining great things. However, Nietzsche would argue that the Overmen should be gentle to the weak, out of the consciousness of their own strength and superiority. But Nietzsche does not like egalitarianism because it prevents the individual who strives to become the Overman from creating themselves in any way that is not mediocre. And these are some of Nietzsche's most fundamental qualities of the Übermensch. Number 1. Suffering can better oneself by producing gratitude and nuanced perspectives. It is often required in the pursuit of great things and personal growth. Number 2. The individual should make their own values. They should not simply absorb the values that their culture teaches them. They should make it themselves. They should value what they personally value. Number 3. People must follow their own admirations, rather than following the admirations of people around them. They should pursue the career that they've always wanted, instead of pursuing the career that their parents may have wanted, or their friends may have wanted for them. They must attain the goal that they've set for themselves, instead of just living the life that their parents or community has always wanted from them. Number 4. The Übermensch will not be resentful of the success and fortunes of others. In fact, they will use envy to help better themselves. And finally, number 5. Abandon religion, alcohol, or any other life-denying otherworldly force, and instead find value in creating yourself. And in society, you will find value with art, literature, and most importantly, culture. And to conclude, it is important to take from Nietzsche what matters most to you, and not absorb everything he says as simply true. Nietzsche's idea of the Overman is very relevant to this day. His philosophies offer very valuable insight. The concept of creating yourself is very important for humanity, and has the potential to improve the lives of countless people.